Sweaty Pistachio Productions presents Two Shades of Brown, Part 1, Chocolate Biscuits of Love, by Rosie Dingle, performed by Hector Fleabite Peckerwhistle. Vicky doesn't want much out of life, just some rich handsome guy to come give her tons of money so she can sit on the couch and eat snack cakes, but it's just not happening. But then, Ruckus Chocolate Filling, the most famous rapper of all time, comes to town, and Vicky buys a ticket that will enter her into a drawing for 3 lucky winners to meet Ruckus backstage. Is Vicky's luck about to change, or will Ruckus show Vicky his hidden desires and why they call him Chocolate Filling with 2 shades of brown? Find out in this erotically charged romance for the ages. 2 Shades of Brown is a work of erotically horny fiction. Sexy names, sweaty characters, horny places, and dirty incidents either are the products of the author's erotic imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, poop, events, or locales is purely coincidental and erotic. Copyright 2016, Rosie Dingle Enterprises, all rights reserved. Vicky was horny. She scratched the flabby droop of her no-chin as she walked her jiggling body through the parking lot to the cosmetics warehouse where she would spend yet another 8 hours trash-talking the coworkers not scheduled to work that day, with brief interludes to blame the unseasonably cold weather on former President George W. Bush. Her boobs hurt. She had slept on them awkwardly, and upon awakening that morning, had slipped on a banana peel in her shower and smashed them into the linoleum. She ignored the pain, focusing on the pleasure she felt as she released gas from her butt. It was almost successfully silent all the way through. Almost. The last wisp of butt air became a sloppy raspberry that was plainly audible in the still May morning. Looking all about to ensure that there were no witnesses, she was heartbroken to find that close behind her, and downwind of her flatulence, strode not only Sally, her arch-nemesis who worked as a cashier, but also Cecil, the studliest, hottest guy currently employed by Slappington's makeup mill. Sally sneered at Vicky, stepping sharply up to her to address the situation. Vicky stood her ground, but her face wilted, not merely from her shame, but also at the vulgar stench of her invisible fart cloud. "Did you just rip booty?" Sally demanded. "Maybe I did, and maybe I didn't," Vicky replied defiantly, yet betraying the embarrassment she felt as Cecil now came to stand beside Sally, looking her up and down with open distaste. "I believe you just farted at us," Cecil said. He was such a cool guy, with his jiggling man-boobs, earring, and blonde highlights in his spiky hair, not to mention his super sexy soul patch, that Vicky felt as though her fart had reached into her chest, grabbed her sweaty heart, and squeezed. A tear gathered in the corner of her beady left eye, but she was not going to let them win. "Listen, you two," Vicky began. "We come here to work and to provide a service to the public. We need to work together if we want to find a rich person to let us stay at home while they work to pay for our fancy clothes and snack cakes. Why should we fight over farts? Everybody farts. It's what makes us human." Sally was having none of it. Her eyes formed vicious slits as she leaned forward, jabbing an accusatory finger toward Sally. "You may put on that whole let's work together routine, but in the end we all know that you want all the rich people for yourself so you can have more fancy clothes and more snack cakes than the rest of us. I'm surprised you show up for work at all, that you haven't taken the easy road and simply eaten yourself into morbid obesity so that the taxpayers can fund your lethargy." This hit a raw nerve somewhere near Vicky's sphincter, and now the tears came. Don't you think I've tried? How am I ever going to get big enough to qualify for disability on this kind of pay? I can't afford to get enough snack cakes to get big enough as it is. My life is so unfair." "You think your life is unfair?" Sally straightened like a board, slapping one bony hand against her raisin-boobed chest. "I got my mother's tweaker metabolism, and I'm addicted to uppers. I eat nothing but the greasiest, fattiest foods. And outside of work, I only watch cable and sit on my couch. I'm too dedicated to even spend time with my kids, assuming they're still alive, and I'm still hardly breaking bad with 140 pounds. I might as well just quit. Just give up. You want to talk about unfair? My life, you hear? My life is unfair." But you could always stop taking uppers," Vicky protested. "Are you on crack?" Sally growled like an angered Tasmanian devil. How am I supposed to make my addiction disease go away without some kind of government assistance? That's like asking a guy with no arms to grow his arms back. Are you stupid or something? Suddenly, Vicky understood. It all came crashing down. Yes, of course Sally couldn't break her addiction. She wasn't in control of her life. Only the government could help her now. What if we asked the government to pay for you to go to rehab? My ex-boyfriend did that. It's where he met his boyfriend before he left me for cheating on him with his stepfather. Sally shook her head. No way. That stuff is impossible. You gotta sit in this class and listen to people talk. Who has time for that when they've got kids to raise? I need the government to raise my kids, and then we can start talking about the government paying for my rehab. In that instant, Sally became suddenly somber, lowering her head. Perhaps her morning pills were wearing off. Until then, I'm just going to have to keep popping pills until some kind of help comes along that can manage my life a little more efficiently, she sighed heavily, scratching her tattooed belly. Wait a minute, Vicky said, raising one fat finger toward the sweaty sky and tweeting out an imperceptible fart as she did so. I've got it. What if we demanded that our minimum wage be raised to $15 per hour? That way we can afford more food, get fatter, or else we can afford to go to hot swinging clubs where we can meet really hot rich guys to help pay for us to watch TV. Cecil remained silent, observing, rubbing his soul patch thoughtfully. Sally lifted her head, sniffing up a fat wad of tearful mucus. But wouldn't that hurt the company's profits and maybe force the owners to close, and we'd all lose our jobs? Vicky was unsure if it was the pills or if Sally was talking in a foreign language, because nothing she said was making any sense. What the... I don't know what you're talking about. The government can just bail them out by making more money. Didn't you pay attention in school? Cecil finally cut in with a new idea. But what if Slappingtons doesn't go for it? I mean, what if they don't want to raise our wages? Then what? For a moment, Vicky didn't know how to answer, but then it came to her. She saw it happen all the time, and the effectiveness was profound. It was almost too easy. Her weird and malformed face lit up with a twisted smile. Then we will sound off about how Slappingtons has offended us, traumatized us by disagreeing with us. We can elect politicians that will help shut them down if they don't help us and stop offending us by disagreeing with us. The politicians can tax them and give us a share of the reaping. Not only that, we might just go ahead and tell everyone how the owners of the company are racist for not agreeing with us. Yeah, we'll be offended by their racism and sexism. If they disagree with our ideas, we can sound off on how they disagree with us because they hate women. For just a moment, Vicky thought she had formed an alliance, but then Cecil's face twisted up into a wrinkled frown full of sexist, racist hatred. How's that going to benefit me, huh? He demanded, jiggling his breast as his lips turned 3,000,000 shades of red. Am I going to have to get a sex change? It's not that I haven't thought about it, but how could I afford it without government assistance to help me with my social disease of being a man that wants to be a woman that likes women? You must be insane. He brought his wrist before his eyes, and they went as wide and huge as boobs as he saw the time on his watch. Mother of all racism, you've made me late for work. This is going to be the 5th time in a row this week, all thanks to your sexist racism. You think racism is funny, do you, Vicky? Just when you think George W. Bush can't ruin our lives anymore, Sally lamented. He manipulates idiots like you, Vicky, into racist ideas about homophobic sexism just to make us late for work. All this racist talk about minimum wage, now I'm going to miss my reality shows because I'm going to have to stay late tonight to make up for the time I've wasted gabbing with the racists like you. Everything you have just said has offended me. You should be forced by the government to not talk anymore because your words offend me with their sexism. Now get out of my way. But, Vicky began, wanting to make things okay again. She'd been doing too good to give up now. But then Sally shoved her, sending her flying backwards to land on her bottom, the asphalt making her butt cheeks ripple with racism. Sally stormed past her, muttering her dislike for former President George W. Bush for making the rainforest make it so cold. Cecil was in tow, but stopped beside Vicky, turning a hateful glare of racism down on her. You may think that all humans fart, Vicky dearest, he said with supreme racist sarcasm, but your homophobia is only worthy of flatulence from a real man that wants to be a woman that likes women. You hear? With this, he aimed his impressively large rear end and blasted a righteous fart directly into her quivering, tearful face, blowing ripples through her face cheeks and nearly evaporating her racist tears. What was worse was that Cecil's farts smelled almost like strawberry ice cream, which was likely due to his sexist ways of eating strawberry ice cream when he should be picketing for women's rights. He walked off, leaving her behind, laughing racistly as he sexistly sauntered to the doors of Slappington's. And that's how the rest of Vicky's Racist Friday went. Coworkers called her names like Poopy McPoops-a-lot, Fart Swilling, Fattington McFecal Smear, and Fat Idiot. Their sexism was in full effect. Not to mention their rampant homophobia. They blamed her for the poor sales, and she done got a stern talk from the department manager, who obviously hated women because he dressed like a man. Vicky was certain, however, that the company's problems were George W. Bush, former president's fault. When she got back to her apartment, she wept and farted with sadness, utterly depressed to live in such a vile, racist country, so full of evil corporations and with such dismal minimum wage. A place so sexist that one hardly stood a chance to get fat enough to qualify for government assistance. Why was her country so racist and sexist? She was so upset by her misfortune that she could no longer watch the reality show about the bachelorette who had to select her new husband by wearing a blindfold and smelling his dirty underwear, and switched to a local news channel. There, a saucy anchorwoman with raging dreadlocks was ranting on about how racist America was before giving the latest coverage on how former President George W. Bush had caused the inevitable destruction of the world by chopping down a cherry tree, which represented the male reproductive organ and therefore demonstrated his hatred of women. Vicky nodded her head, suckling the cherry goo filling from her chocolate snack cake, wanting to cry when she reminded herself that the box would soon be empty at this rate, perhaps before dinner. And that brought on a new worry. What was she going to have for dinner? She was down to half a box of cigarettes, too. She had a little money left over, but was feeling too sad about her racist country to take a walk to the store. Suddenly, she had an idea. She could take the remaining cigarettes and chop them up, then stir them in a bowl with what remained of her cherry-filled chocolate cupcakes, making the perfect dining experience and perhaps taking some of her sadness away in the process. She could feel the clouds of sadness lifting from her flabby arms, but not completely. Her stomach was hurting for some reason, but she knew she couldn't afford a trip to the doctor, not unless the government helped, and that wasn't likely to happen with all of the racism and sexism in the country. Maybe she could move to another country and finally find the utopia of reality television and snack cakes and government assistance that she needed to survive. A pang of heart-wrenching racism pulsated in her lower intestine, and with some effort she managed to pry herself out of her couch indentation and waddle her way to the toilet in time to let loose a torrent of vile, sexist diarrhea, which offended her so much with its stench that she considered petitioning the government to ban the smell from her apartment and college campuses. She considered wiping, but didn't think she should have to without government assistance, so she stood with a groan of pain from the toilet when she was done, and not bothering to raise her denims, waddled back into the living room. Some idiot on the news was spewing propaganda about supporting the troops and defeating so-called terrorists, when anybody with half a brain knew that the only real terror was all of the offensive sexism in America. She couldn't stomach the lies. The anchorwoman returned to talk about white politicians that disagree with her, how white politicians that disagree with her are stupid for adopting ethnic children because by default they were racist for not agreeing with her. Vicky had to agree that it didn't make any sense. She moaned her unhappiness as a commercial break arrived, the first advertisement enticing her with sexy images of hamburgers and pornographic french fries slathered in ketchup. It was so unfair. But then something magical happened. Springing to compassionate, politically correct life, here was none other than Ruckus Chocolate Filling, the hottest, dopest white gangster rapper in existence. His songs were all about terrorizing his girlfriend, beating up old people, how racist America was, stabbing his parents and raping famous women that disagreed with his politics. He was from the streets and knew how to battle this racist, sexist regime. He was a rebel, like Vicky, and the subject of many sloppy, dirty fantasies of liberated women who were tired of all the racism and sexism of this country. She sighed hornily, settling deeper into the permanent couch groove, watching his chocolate filling rapped and rhymed about punching his girlfriend in the mouth and setting her house on fire because he loved her so passionately. It was what romance was all about. If only Vicky could know that kind of romance in her life. Suddenly, the commercial announcer's voice came up to overshadow Chocolate Filling's sexy jam. "Are you ready for Ruckus Chocolate Filling? You better be, because he's coming to the area that which is yours. He'll be at the Orange Skin Stadium this Saturday. Go online to buy tickets, and you will be entered into a drawing where 3 lucky rich white people will be selected from the audience to," this next part was amplified, "meet Chocolate Filling backstage, stage. Vicky squealed, belching up cherry filling into her sweaty mouth, rocking in her couch groove and hornily clapping her greasy hands together. Then the anchor woman was back with a quick note that the war overseas was a scam being put on by racist white people before moving to more pressing matters, that being the protesters demanding that the Orange Skin Stadium change its name so as not to offend homosexual oranges. Vicky, with some effort, managed to draw out her government-issued phone from her pocket and log onto the internet, where she immediately ordered a ticket. By the great Earth Mother, who will soon return to America to vanquish all racism and sexism and offensive politically incorrect humor and or satire, she was going to that concert, and she was going to meet Ruckus Chocolate Filling. Vicky was farting with excitement as she rolled her gay car into the sexist parking lot of the racist Orange Skin Stadium, hornily anticipating the great hero known as Ruckus Chocolate Filling's show. A lot of racist bigots in town had been up in arms that someone like Chocolate Filling was coming to town, going on about some nonsense about his lyrics being immoral and not right. Vicky had scoffed at such ludicrous notions. These idiots just didn't understand Ruckus's rebellious nature and hard upbringing, and were clearly racist against his chocolate filling. She giggled as she thought to herself, "Oh boy, I wouldn't mind if Ruckus filled me with his chocolate." She got out of her gay car and made her way up to the racist stadium where hordes of hormonal white rich girls jacked up on meth were chanting lyrics to his songs. Such radio hits as, "Bitch, I'm a gonna burn my name on your ass. I'm a gonna bust a cap in my mama pill prescription. You racist wanna own guns. You is racist guns is bad. You trifling racist with your gun rights policies, and you sexist too." And of course the classic, "I beat hoes, mad illin' bitch. I love beating you to death, yo." That last one was a personal favorite of Vicky's. Some girls were dressed as anime characters, which Vicky had been considering taking up since there was new evidence on the internet that looking like a Japanese cartoon character was currently the best method to gain popularity and money from individuals in the creative industry. She would have to look into that later, but for now she figured it best that she ride this current trend. She lit up a cigarette, adjusted her thong so that the strap was visible beneath her high-rise, low-cut shirt, and farted as she came to the ticket window. The homoerotic juggalo at the ticket booth was scratching his makeup as he nonchalantly took her ticket. "Yo, bitch," he grunted. "You be keeping the stub of this ticket, know what I'm saying? When Chocolate Filling stops busting rhymes and the announcer be reading off the winning numbers of the 3 bitches that be winning, you be listening, and your fat bitch ass gonna get your fat ass back in the backstage, motherfucker, like a mad mofo, and be meeting the mad white chocolate-filled flavor of Chocolate Filling, know what I'm saying?" "You had me at bitch," Vicky squealed, then pocketed her ticket stub and waddled her way into the stadium. Anticipatory cheers and waving cell phones filled out the bowl-shaped racist stadium. Vicky had to take a dump. Any minute now, Ruckus would swagger out onto stage and start tearing it up, yo. She felt so liberated to be here with all of these other white girls with their boobs hanging out, ready to stick it to the man by jamming to swinging beats about Ruckus terrorizing and beating up women and old people. Those old-fashioned, war-loving bigots could choke on it. It made her so excited that she squirted a spurt of chocolate into her thong. All of a sudden, the dull roar became a raging chaos of horny screams. Boobs started flying out of shirts, and meth started snorting up nostrils as none other than Ruckus Chocolate Filling walked his sexy cracker ass out onto the stage of the racist stadium. "Sup, y'all? What's up, bitches?" Ruckus hollered into his microphone before throwing his arms up in the air. The crowd went wild, boobs flapping harder and meth snorting faster, eager, liberated groins hungry for Ruckus's chocolate filling. Vicky made her way closer toward the stage, feeling so liberated that she just let her poop and pee run, soaking her pants and making her a strong woman who doesn't need a man. "My orgasm is important," she yelled as she began to shake her body, her butt cheeks throttling a few of the tweaker skanks to either side of her in the crowd. "Here we go, bitches," Ruckus thundered, and the synthesized beat started its boom-click-tweet rhythm. Vicky had thought the crowd couldn't get any wilder, but she'd been wrong. The stadium became like a toilet, filled to the brim with bubbling urine and rancid feces, ferociously flushing, but refusing to go down, sputtering acidly into the air where no plunger or housekeeper could stop its liberated rage. "Shit!" Ruckus grunted as he launched into the new single. "You fat bitch, gonna make you crash your car 'cause I hate fat bitches. Yo!" The already famous lyrics began, but here, now, live, in the flesh, not pre-recorded, and spewing from the internet. This was real and raw. "I be tearing it up," the lyrics continued. "Bitch, I ain't gonna have that. Nah, my mom did drugs. Oh man, yo, I be giving drugs to dumb bitches. They going OD, like my drawers be drooping. Your face on which I be pooping. You see the conflict when I perpetrate chocolate, spraying on the scene with that gangster gleam. We on it now, yeah, cuz check it. I'm gonna spread your cheeks and I'ma inspect it. What? You think I'm playing for keeps? No, son, I be huffing up mad ghetto butt squeaks. My skin be white, but my ghetto flavor is tight. You got a problem, then I'm gonna blast your ass tonight. Bitch, I need you. I wanna love on your butt tattoo. But you say you ain't having it when I know you want to. I'm gonna force it. If you don't submit, recognize I got to impale you on my vanilla banana pop. Yo, it's that for real. The crowd was becoming one big collective diuretic orgasm. The girls were swooning with ecstasy, proffering boobs upon the stage, on the edge of the stage, and shaking their butt cheeks, tweaking and freaking, kissing each other's butts as they dirty danced to Ruckus's liberating rhymes. Ruckus made a point to step on some of the boobs where they rested on the edge of the stage, and the women wilted away in pleasurable, liberating pain. On cloud 9 to have Ruckus's size 11 stamped on their fun bags. Vicky needed to get closer. As she made her way closer to the stage, punching and kicking and biting to make a path, Ruckus's opening song came to an end. "You want more of that?" he asked the audience, receiving the expected roar of approval. "Word, bitches, you gonna get more. But first, I gotta drink a 40 in honor of my dead homies. I grew up in the projects with them, yo." At this, a bikini-clad woman ran out onto stage with a 40-ounce bottle of malt liquor, removing the cap and handing it to Ruckus as she came before him. "Word!" Ruckus said as he took the bottle. "Thanks, bitch," he said, and then ripped off her bikini top and ninja kicked her in the face. Vicky could see that she was smiling as she toppled over into the crowd and was trampled to death by the liberated audience. As Ruckus sucked down the brew, the dead woman's carcass was raised overhead, and the audience pushed it along by their collective hands, passing it to the far side of the stadium until it arrived at the janitor's rolling waste bin. It was promptly discarded before the bin was wheeled off. By this time, Ruckus was done drinking. "Yeah!" he announced, and ceremoniously hurled the bottle at the face of the closest fan, smashing her eager face into a bloody mess as it shattered. The lucky fan brushed away the glass shards and blood, then screamed, "I love you, Ruckus! And I love you too, bitch!" The audience teemed and pulsated as Ruckus, now inebriated, swayed from side to side. "Yo!" he said into the microphone, maintaining his footing. "Yo! Word up! I ain't cool with, racism. Yeah, racism is totally gay. You homophobic faggots. And if y'all bitches buy my new album, then you can show this racist country that we should ban everything we don't like. Enforce everybody except what we like, or they're racist." The crowd surged again with horny agreement. "Gee, shit. Okay, I don't really feel like rhyming for y'all no more. Where's that faggot announcer? We'll stop homophobia by having that Bama come out here and read the winning numbers. Yo, shit, word. Later, bitches." And with that, Ruckus Chocolate Filling dropped to the microphone to the stage, wobbled his way off stage, his baggy pants falling to his ankles just before he fell out of sight and into the shadows. The announcer walked awkwardly out onto stage, wearing a suit of all things. He was white, too. The crowd booed him. He said with a nasally voice into the microphone after picking it up from the stage, unfolding a small sheet of paper. "The winning numbers are 420, 187, and 311. Vicky pulled her ticket stub from her diarrhea-soaked pants and almost fainted when she read her number, 311. She was going backstage to meet Ruckus, chocolate filling. Meanwhile, the crowd all booed, all but Vicky and two other girls. A shot rang out, hardly heard over the din of booing, disappointed rich white girls. A red hole appeared in the announcer's chest. He looked down, put a hand to the bullet wound, then said, I've been shot, before slumping over, leaving a streamer of red in his wake. At this, the crowd broke out into laughter. Vicky thought it was quite funny as well, but was confused. There were clearly posted signs which indicated that Orange Skin Stadium was a gun-free establishment. How did a murderous criminal get in with a gun when he was obviously not allowed to? It would forever remain a racist, sexist mystery. Vicky's horny heart was pounding in her butt as she was escorted by a fat racist white guy to the door that would take her and the other two liberated women backstage. Tantalizingly, she wondered if Chocolate Filling secretly wanted to fudge-knuckle her fart maker. It seemed unlikely, but she wondered all the same. Maybe if she wished hard enough, to the great science, the powers of homophobia would be dispelled and Chocolate Filling would deliver. They stepped into a room painted in gold and adorned by paintings of large butt cheeks. Totally hot, hip, and fashionable gangsters were pimping hoes and busting caps. Dead bodies were dragged away by miserable honkies on minimum wage as obese rappers that were living large hornily rubbed diamond-encrusted jewelry that accentuated their fat rolls. Ghetto-blasting pimp fashion was busting all up out the speakers, which were also wearing thongs and made of gold. Suddenly, two big fat doors swung open, and the fresh partygoers broke into a din of grunts and "Oh shit!" as none other than Ruckus Chocolate Filling came out, rubbing his groin with one hand and swinging his 9 around with the other. "What's up, bitches?" Ruckus addressed the crowd. He busted some caps into some rival rappers, who were thus dragged out by underpaid hillbillies who bowed and farted in gratitude once the corpses were disposed through gold-plated garbage chutes. "I got to say, there ain't no more homophobic Indiana laws be perpetrating up in my hood, yo. Us from Boston, represent." At this, the crowd burst into a slamming cheer of genital-churning, profane happiness. Butt cheeks wiggled, hoes were slapped, and boobs were punched. It was a festival of open-minded tolerance like none other. As the crowd grinded their genitals and butt cheeks together, farting and slapping, Ruckus produced a joint from his fur coat that was roughly the size of a canoe. A meth-head trailer dweller unveiled a lighter and sparked it up for him, then quickly stepped back into the crowd where his head was submerged in a thong-laced butt crack as Ruckus took a hit, turning the entire torpedo of a J into ash with just one pull. He promptly shook the ash out over the crowd, who choked and sputtered as they dropped ecstasy and sucked on pacifiers, inhaling the scent of their elated excrement. As Ruckus exhaled the smoke, his half-lidded eyes shifted over to spot the 3 newcomers. "Them bitches must be the winners of the junks," he said to nobody in particular, as he began to swagger walk in wide steps, swaying greatly from side to side as the booty-bumping crowd made a path for him. Once he came to face the 3 winners, he looked them each up and down, in turn, taking his time to consider their worthiness. After a moment's contemplation, he ninja-kicked the bitch to the left of Vicky, then phantom punched the bitch to her right, then drew back, taking a slow breath as he eyed Vicky, whose butt cheeks and belly rolls were now quivering with fear and anticipation. "You like to play hide the Fuffenhagen?" Ruckus asked. Vicky was stunned into silence. Was it a trick question? How should she answer? Ruckus waited for a few beats, but then began to draw back his hand, ready to bitch slap. Mind racing, Vicky prayed to the great science to give her a non-Islamophobic answer, one that would help her both avoid being bitch-slapped and put her fat honky ass in Ruckus's good chocolate-filled graces. She stammered, quivering. Ruckus's eyes widened. He was ready to deliver the slap. I don't play hide the Fuffenhagen," she whimpered, but then found that the great science had given her the answer, and with newfound confidence that was completely non-xenophobic, she finished, "I put the Fuffenhagen in my ass, bitch." Until that moment, as Ruckus slowly lowered his pimp hand, she hadn't even realized how the crowd had gone silent, and the twerking had ceased. There followed a collective sigh of horny, sexy relief, as Ruckus's hand came to rest by his side as he mulled over her reply. Had Vicky offended Ruckus? because in this tolerant time, if anything offended anybody, then it was bad, and in particular if it offended a hero of such standing as the great Ruckus Chocolate Filling. She still tensed. "I find your comment being," Ruckus drawled, rubbing his chin, "not offensive to my chocolate flavor." Then he turned back to face the crowd, throwing up his arms. "What, y'all bitches ain't dancing no more? Do that shit before I regulate." With that, the butt friction and genital reunification recommenced, and Ruckus turned back to face his remaining conscious contest winner. "You done got the right number, bitch. My number, know what I'm saying?" Word, Vicky said dreamily, on the verge of passing out from the thick waft of flatulent romance vapor that emanated from her favorite rap star, Ruckus Chocolate Filling. "You want to come back to my private quarters, ho?" Ruckus asked. I would. What's in the private quarters, yo?" Ruckus's face lifted into a smug smirk, slitting his eye holes as he replied, "It's where you's gonna have a taste of my private fantasy. Whether you want to see the world with me while I booty slap, or sit back, smoke rock, and eat my chocolate biscuits of love, you're gonna have the experience that'll smackify my doodads while I'm butt slapping gonads in vanilla sauce from my dumper, know what I'm saying?" And Vicky did, not looking back, only looking forward as Ruckus led her through the parting crowd toward his private Dick Weasel fart chamber of ass-crust love. She was only looking forward to the future and all of the romantic adventure it would bring. To be continued in 2 Shades of Brown, Part 2, slapping it with Choco Vanilla Slappy Sauce. About the author. Rosie Dingle lives in her mansion where she eats expensive snack cakes and drinks expensive wine and listens to hip-hop and is smarter than everybody because she watches cable talk shows.